Have you ever found yourself anxious and wondered, why in the heck am I feeling this way? Why is my heart beating so fast all of a sudden? Why am I sweating? But today, you're going to get some answers because we're going to take a look at the neurobiology of anxiety. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Daily Dose. I'm Dr. Lance Garrison. I'm a psychologist with a background in health psychology and behavioral medicine, and I'm also Dean for the College of Professional Psychology at the Chicago School. My goal for this channel is to help you have a better understanding of the way that we think and the way that we feel and how those contribute to mental health. I believe strongly that knowledge is power, and having that power helps create momentum for positive change. So let's jump right in. And as you watch today's video, don't forget, take a moment, hit that like button, and subscribe for more content just like this. First of all, before we jump in, I do want to acknowledge that discussing the inner workings of anxiety can feel challenging for some of us, especially if we're currently kind of in the midst of struggling with anxiety. But please know, you are not alone, and there is absolutely hope. And I think that by better understanding the biological mechanisms behind anxiety, we can work towards developing some coping strategies and ways of feeling better. So let's just dive in now. When we encounter any kind of stressful situation, we have a natural response that our body activates called the fight or flight system. And it's deeply ingrained. It's a survival mechanism that's helped humans navigate stress for thousands and thousands of years. But in today's world, that very same system can become overactive. And when it does, it leads to anxiety, and sometimes even anxiety disorders. Now, at the heart of this response is something called the amygdala. And it's just a small almond-shaped structure that's kind of deep in our brain. And it acts as our body's alarm system because it's constantly scanning the world around us for potential danger. And when it detects something that it thinks is a threat, whether it's real or not, it's sending signals to other parts of our brain and our body, initiating a cascade of physiological changes. So imagine you're walking through a forest and suddenly you hear a loud rustling in the bushes. Boom! Your amygdala immediately goes into high alert and starts signaling your body to prepare for action. Your heart rate goes up. Your breathing becomes rapid and shallow. Your muscles tense up. At that point, you're ready to kick ass or haul ass. Nothing in between. Then people with anxiety disorders, that amygdala can become hyperactive, interpreting even minor stressors as real and serious threats. And when it does that, we get frequent and intense anxiety responses, which, if you have them, you know can be exhausting and overwhelming. But the amygdala isn't the only actor in this process. It's just part of a complex network of brain regions that all work together to process emotion and regulate stress. The prefrontal cortex, for example, helps us control the amygdala's reactions, and it allows us to assess situations more rationally and hopefully help us make informed decisions. But when we have an anxiety disorder, the prefrontal cortex may have difficulty kind of regulating what the amygdala is telling us is dangerous in the world. Another key player in this response is it's this big long word, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, HPA. And what that system does is it regulates the release of stress hormones like cortisol. And what that does is help us mobilize energy and boost alertness. But under chronic stress and anxiety, we can get an overactive HPA axis. And that results in high levels of cortisol all the time, which can have a really profound and negative impact on both our physical and our mental health. Now, it's important to remember that every one of us experiences anxiety a little bit differently, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. But when we have a better understanding of the neurobiology of anxiety, now we can start to think about it more critically and develop interventions. We can engage in things like cognitive behavioral therapy or even take medication that help kind of regulate our brain's stress response and help us feel better. So if you're struggling with anxiety, please know you are not alone. There is help available. So you could reach out to a clinical psychologist or other mental health professional, and that's an important first step in beginning to manage your symptoms and, honestly, improving the quality of life. So remember, your anxiety doesn't define you. With the right support and the right tools, it's possible to navigate these challenges of anxiety with confidence and resilience. So thank you for joining me in today's kind of deep dive or exploration of the biology of anxiety. I hope the video was helpful and maybe provided a few valuable insights and a sense of hope. Until next time, please take care of yourself. And remember, you are not your anxiety.